The night my life split cleanly in two didn't come with thunder or shouting at first. It came with a sentence said to calmly, "Ethan needs to spend the holidays with his real father." My wife said it while drying her hands on a dish towel, like she was announcing we were out of milk. I remember the exact sound of the kitchen clock ticking behind her, the way the overhead light hummed, and how my fingers still smelled like motor oil from the late shift. Ordinary sounds, ordinary smells, the kind that trick you into thinking your life is still solid when it's already cracking underneath your feet. I didn't answer right away. I was standing by the counter, boots still on, jacket unzipped, holding a small wooden train I'd been repairing in the garage. One of the wheels had fallen off. Ethan had asked me that morning if I could make it strong again. I always did. "What do you mean?" I asked. She didn't turn around. She folded the towel slowly, precisely. "I mean Christmas. He's going with Daniel to his parents' place in Colorado. Ski lodge, big house, family. He deserves that." I felt something tighten behind my ribs. "We already talked about this. We're hosting Christmas Eve. Your sister's coming. Ethan's school concert." She cut me off with a sharp exhale. "Those are traditions, Mark, not necessities." She finally faced me. Her lipstick was perfect, her hair done the way she only bothered with when she went out or met someone important. "Not for nights like this. He needs his real dad," she said again, slower this time, like she was explaining something simple to a child. And honestly, I'm tired of pretending otherwise. There it was. Not yelled, not screamed, just placed between us like a blade on the table. I set the wooden train down carefully. My hands were steady, but I could feel my pulse in my ears. "I've been raising him since he was 4, and I appreciate that," she replied quickly, too quickly. "But you're still not his father." The words still hit harder than the rest. From the hallway, a small voice called out, "Mom, Mark, can I have hot chocolate?" Ethan, 11 years old, skinny limbs, too big hoodie, still believing adults meant what they said. "Just a minute, buddy," I called back. She watched me, arms crossed now, defensive ready. "So what exactly are you saying?" I asked. She tilted her head. "I'm saying this is happening, and if you can't accept it, then maybe we need to stop pretending about other things too." "Like what?" "Like this marriage." The silence after that was enormous. I thought of the nights I'd helped Ethan with math homework while she worked late, the Saturdays at the hardware store buying parts for his science projects, the way he still reached for my hand crossing the street. I thought of the email I hadn't answered yet, the one sitting unopened on my phone from a company overseas, a job I'd turned down twice because she didn't want to leave, didn't want change, didn't want me changing. "What are you telling him?" I asked quietly. "That he's spending Christmas with his dad," she said, "and that you understand." I looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, I saw someone already gone. "Do you?" she pressed. "Understand?" I didn't argue. That surprised her. I just nodded once. "Yeah," I said, "I do." Her eyes narrowed. "That's it for tonight," I replied. She scoffed. Typical. Avoiding conflict. I walked past her, poured milk into a saucepan, and called Ethan into the kitchen. He slid in wearing socks, clutching the broken train car. "Did you fix it?" he asked. "Almost," I said. "I'll finish it tomorrow." He smiled, that crooked grin that always made something ache in my chest. "You always fix stuff." I swallowed. "I try." We sat on the couch later watching an old movie he liked. Halfway through, he fell asleep against my shoulder, warm and trusting. I didn't move for a long time when I finally carried him to bed. I stood in the doorway longer than necessary, listening to his breathing, memorizing it, like part of me already knew I'd need the memory. Downstairs the house felt hollow. I opened my phone at the kitchen table. The email was still there. Subject: final offer, Singapore operations lead. I read it slowly this time. Good pay, long contract, immediate start. I typed my reply with shaking fingers. "If the position is still available, I accept." I stared at the message for a full minute before hitting send. The sound it made, digital, felt louder than anything she'd said that night. I didn't pack, I didn't sleep. 3 days later, while she and Ethan were supposedly visiting Daniel early, I boarded a plane alone. Singapore was hot, bright, relentless, a city that never slowed down long enough to notice you were broken. The apartment they gave me was small and clean. The job was demanding and precise. People respected boundaries here. They showed up when they said they would. They didn't rewrite history just because it suited them. Night. I checked my phone. Nothing. I sent messages to Ethan anyway. "Hope you're having fun. I fixed the train. I'll give it to you when I see you. I miss you. KIDDO. No replies. On the 5th day I mailed him the train. Paid extra for tracking. Delivered. Still nothing. The guilt crept in quietly. Maybe she was right. Maybe I had chosen work over him. Maybe leaving Evan pushed still counted as leaving. Then, one evening, a coworker showed me something on his phone. A post public, a photo of my wife, her ex-husband and Ethan in front of a lodge dusted with snow. All smiles. The caption read, "Family, finally whole again." My stomach dropped. I zoomed in. Ethan wasn't smiling. Not really. That was when my phone buzzed with a new notification. Not a message. Legal alert. Divorce. Filed claim. ABNDONA enter filed. 2 days after my flight landed. My hands went cold. She hadn't just replaced me. She was erasing me. And in that moment, sitting alone in a city half a world away, I understood something with terrifying clarity. Wasn't fighting for a marriage anymore. I was fighting for a child who was being taught that the man who stayed was the one who left. And I wasn't going to let that story stand. I didn't sleep that night. Singapore buzzed outside my apartment window, traffic humming, neon signs flickering, a city alive and indifferent, but inside me, everything was locked in a single image. Ethan standing between them, snow at his feet, wearing the jacket I bought him, smiling the way kids smile when they're told to, not because they're happy, because they're trying to be good. I replayed every moment leading up to that photo, searching for the exact second I lost control of the story of my own life. It wasn't when I accepted the job. It wasn't when I boarded the plane. It was earlier, much earlier, when I believed being steady was enough. When I thought love didn't need witnesses, I was wrong. The next morning at work, I moved like a machine, clipboard, hard hat, meetings, nods. Everyone thought I was calm, competent, in control. Inside, something had hardened. During lunch, I pulled the divorce filing up again. Abandonment. The word stared back at me like a verdict already decided. According to the document, I had left the marital home with no intention of return and ceased contact with the child. Both lies, easily provable lies. But lies, I was learning, don't need truth to spread. They just need repetition. I called my wife that night. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Blocked. That was when the anger finally arrived. Not explosive, not loud, but cold and methodical. The kind that clears fog instead of creating it. I emailed an old friend back home, Ryan Keller. We'd worked together years ago before he went to law school. We weren't close anymore, but we had history. Need legal advice, urgent, about custody and false abandonment claims. He replied within an hour. Call me. I did. She filed abandonment, he said after I explained everything. Yes. And you have proof of communication, messages, employment contract, all of it. He exhaled slowly. Then she overplayed her hand. What about Ethan? That's the part that matters, Ryan said. And the part judges don't take lightly. I stared at the darkened window. She's already poisoning him. There was a pause on the line. Mark, you need to come back. I just got here. Doesn't matter. If you stay away, her version becomes the only version. I ended the call and sat there a long time. Coming back meant confrontation, courtrooms, public judgment, losing whatever illusion of peace I'd gained by leaving. But staying meant silence, and silence was already costing me my son. I booked a flight for the following week. I didn't tell her. I didn't post anything. I moved quietly. The way you do when you know someone is waiting for you to make a mistake. When the plane landed back home, winter slapped me in the face. Gray sky, dirty snow piled at the edges of the road. The familiar ache of a place that knows you too well. I didn't go to the house. Instead, I checked into a cheap motel near the courthouse. The kind with thin walls and coffee that tasted like regret. It didn't matter. I wasn't here to be comfortable. Ryan met me that afternoon with a folder already started. She tried to sell the house, he said, flipping through documents. Listed it as sole occupant. She can't do that. She tried anyway. Also attempted to drain the joint account. Bank froze it. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. What about Ethan? Ryan leaned back. School counselor requested a meeting. Said he's withdrawn, confused, keeps asking why you chose work over him. The words landed heavy. I didn't, I said. I know, Ryan replied, but that's not the story he's hearing. That night I drove past the house. The porch light was on. A different car in the driveway. Daniel's, I assumed. The sight of it sent a flash of heat through my chest, but I kept driving. I needed leverage, evidence, truth that didn't rely on my word alone. The next day, I went to Ethan's school. The counselor, Mrs. Whitmore, recognized me immediately. Relief crossed her face before professionalism snapped back into place. I'm glad you came, she said quietly once we were seated. What's he saying? I asked. She folded her hands. That you left because you didn't want to be a dad anymore. I felt something twist inside me. Did she say that? She didn't deny it. Silence filled the room. He keeps your picture in his backpack, Mrs. Whitmore continued. Takes it out when he thinks no one is watching. That almost broke me. Can I see him? I asked. She hesitated. Legally, not without a court order, but I will document everything. Thank you. As I stood to leave, she added softly, children know when adults are lying, even if they don't have the words yet. Court came faster than I expected. My wife didn't expect me at all. The look on her face when she saw me sitting there live, calm, prepared, was something I'll never forget. Surprise, fear, then fury. She went first. Crocodile tears, shaky voice, stories about being abandoned, about trying to hold things together. Then it was my turn. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult her. I laid out dates, messages, employment records, bank statements, the school counselor's notes. The judge listened carefully. Why didn't you contact your husband? The judge asked her. He blocked me. She snapped. I slid my phone across the table. My call logs say otherwise. Her lawyer shifted uncomfortably. The judge leaned back. Mrs. Carter, do you understand the seriousness of false claims involving a child? Her mouth opened, closed. The ruling was temporary, but it was enough. Supervised access granted. Communication restored. Acid freeze maintained. And then the judge said something I hadn't expected. This court will prioritize the child's emotional stability. Any attempt to manipulate or alienate will be addressed. My wife's face went pale. Outside the courtroom, she hissed at me. You think you won? No, I said calmly. I think Ethan deserves better. She laughed, sharp and brittle. You'll regret this. Maybe, but for the first time in weeks I wasn't afraid. That evening my phone buzzed. Unknown number, I answered. Mark. A small voice said. My knees nearly gave out. Ethan, I whispered. I got your train, he said. Mom said you sent it because you felt bad. I sent it because I promised, I replied, and because I love you. There was a pause. You're not gone, he asked. No, I said firmly. I'm right here. Another pause. Then, softly, okay. That single word felt like oxygen. After we hung up, I sat on the motel bed, staring at the wall, letting it sink in. She could lie to the world. She could twist paperwork and rewrite history. But she couldn't control what mattered most forever. Because truth has a way of resurfacing, and when it does, it doesn't just hurt, it exposes. I didn't know it yet, but my wife was already making another move. One, desperate enough to destroy the image she'd built so carefully, and when it came out, it wouldn't just cost her the case, it would cost her everything. The calm didn't last. It never does when someone is used to controlling the narrative for a few days after the hearing. Things went quiet in a way that felt unnatural, like the air before a storm. My wife followed the court order on paper. Messages came through. Short, cold, technically compliant. Ethan and I talked every night. Nothing deep at first. Homework, his dog. A new kid at school who smelled like onions. Ordinary things. Safe things. I let him lead. Kids always tell you what they're ready to tell you if you give them space, but the cracks were already there. One evening, after we hung up, I noticed a missed call from an unknown number, then another, then a voicemail. I waited until morning to listen to it. Mark, her voice said, brittle and tight. We need to talk. Not lawyers. Not courts. Just us. I deleted it. That was my mistake. The next move came 2 days later. Disguised as concern. I was at the motel desk renewing my stay, when the clerk glanced at her screen and frowned. Sir, did you check out early? No, I said. Why? There was a call. Someone claiming to be your wife. Said you left abruptly and might be in distress. Asked us to do a welfare check. My jaw tightened. Did you? She nodded. Police came by last night. You weren't here. Of course I wasn't. I'd been at Ryan's office preparing documents. I felt the first real flash of fear, then not for myself, but for Ethan. False welfare checks weren't about concern. They were about planting doubt. I called Ryan immediately. She's escalating, he said grimly. Trying to paint you as unstable. What do? We document everything and you don't react emotionally. That was the hardest part. The first supervised visit with Ethan was scheduled for Saturday at a family services center. Beige walls. Toys that had been handled by 1,000 nervous hands. Cameras in the corners. I got there early. When Ethan walked in, he froze for a second like he wasn't sure he was allowed to run. Then he did anyway. He hugged me hard. I knelt to his level. Hey, I said. I'm not going anywhere. He nodded, face pressed into my shoulder. Across the room, my wife watched us with her arms folded, lips pressed thin. Her smile came out only when the supervisor glanced her way. We played a board game, talked about school. I kept it light, but halfway through, Ethan looked up at me and asked, "Did you really leave because of me?" The question sliced clean through the room. No, I said immediately. I left because adults made bad choices. None of them were you. He studied my face like he was checking for cracks. Mom says you didn't want to be stuck. I swallowed. Being your dad was never being stuck. Something shifted then. Small, but real. When the hour ended, he hugged me again. Longer this time, next week. He asked. Next week, I promised. 2 nights later, I got the email, not from her, from Daniel. Subject: we need to talk. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity won. Mark, I didn't know about the abandonment filing. I didn't know she blocked your messages. I thought you just left after court. I realized I'd been lied to too. I read it twice. He continued. She's not stable. She's been drinking more, lashing out. She told me if I testified against her, she'd make sure I never see Ethan again, even though he's not mine legally. My hands curled into fists. I don't want to be part of this anymore, he wrote. You're the one who shows up. I see that now. I forwarded the email to Ryan. His reply came fast. This is significant. Don't respond emotionally. Ask him for specifics. I did. The response was worse than I expected. Screenshots, messages, voicemails, threats, lies, admissions. One voicemail made my stomach turn. If you tell the court anything, her voice slurred, I'll say you touched him. Who do you think they'll believe? I stared at the screen, numbed up. That was no longer manipulation. That was scorched earth. We filed an emergency motion the next morning. The judge didn't hide her reaction when she listened to the recording. Her face hardened with every word. "This is extremely serious," she said, "and extremely foolish." Temporary custody shifted. Supervision tightened. My wife's access restricted pending evaluation. Outside the courtroom, she lost it. "This isn't over," she screamed as officers stepped between us. "You think you're some hero. You're nothing." I didn't respond. Because behind her, standing by the doors, was Ethan. He wasn't supposed to be there. Our eyes met. He didn't look scared. He looked relieved. Later that night, I tucked him into bed in the house I hadn't lived in for months. He clutched the wooden train to his chest. "Are you mad at Mom?" he asked quietly. I considered the question carefully. "I'm mad at the choices she made," I said, "but I love you enough not to let them hurt you." He nodded, accepting that in the way kids do when they want to believe something badly enough. As I turned off the light, my phone buzzed again. A new message. "Unknown number. You think you won, but I still know how to ruin you." I stared at the screen, heart steady. Because now, for the first time, I knew something she didn't. Every threat she made, every lie she told, every step she took out of desperation was building a case she couldn't escape. And the next time we stood in front of a judge, she wouldn't be facing just me. She'd be facing the truth with witnesses and consequences. Winning temporary custody didn't feel like victory. It felt like standing in the center of a burned field, holding the last thing that mattered. While smoke still rose from every direction, Ethan moved into the spare bedroom the same night. I let him choose the sheets. Blue, with stars. He lined his toy trains on the windowsill like sentries guarding the dark that first week. I barely slept. Every sound made me sit up. Every unknown number made my pulse spike. Trauma doesn't end when the danger pauses, it just learns new ways to whisper. She was quiet, too quiet, Ryan warned me. When someone like her goes silent, it means they're planning. We prepared anyway. Psych evaluations were ordered. Supervised visits suspended. A full custody hearing scheduled in 6 weeks. 6 weeks sounded short on paper. In real life, it felt like a lifetime. The first crack came from a place I didn't expect. School. Ethan's teacher asked to meet. I braced myself, already running through worst-case scenarios as I sat in the tiny chair across from her desk. "I want you to know," she said gently. "We've noticed a change." My chest tightened. "Bad." She shook her head. "Better. He's participating, smiling, sleeping, in class less." Then she hesitated, but he also said something concerning. I leaned forward. He asked if telling the truth always makes people angry. The words hit harder than any threat. That night, I sat on the edge of his bed longer than usual. "Buddy," I said, "did someone tell you the truth is dangerous?" He stared at the ceiling. "Mom said if I say the wrong thing, I could make everything worse." Rage flared hot sharp, but I kept my voice calm. "Listen to me," I said. "The truth doesn't break families. Lies do." He turned toward me. "Promise." "I promise." He nodded, holding on to that promise like a rope. 2 days later, Ryan called. She filed a complaint with Child Protective Services. The words were almost boring in their familiarity now. "What this time?" I asked. "Neglect, emotional abuse, claims you're coaching Ethan." I closed my eyes. Do they believe it? They have to investigate. "But," he added, "the timing helps us." Pattern of retaliation. The investigator came that afternoon. She was professional, neutral. She talked to Ethan alone. I watched from the hallway through a cracked door, heart pounding, as my son answered questions with careful honesty. When she left, she paused. "Your son feels safe here," she said. "That matters." I sank onto the couch after she was gone, hands shaking. That night, my phone rang again. "Unknown number." I answered this time. Her voice was calm. "Too calm. You think you're protecting him," she said, "but you're poisoning him against his own mother. You're doing that yourself." I replied. Silence. Then I found something. My stomach dropped. "Your motel, your debt, the nights you couldn't afford dinner. You think the court won't care?" I laughed quietly. "I already told them." Another pause. "This one longer." "That wasn't the plan," she muttered. "No," I said. "The plan was to scare me. I'm not scared anymore." The line went dead. A week later, Daniel agreed to testify, not just about the threats, about everything. The drinking, the rages, the lies she told him about me, the night she punched a hole in the wall because Ethan asked when he could see his dad. Ryan smiled for the first time in weeks when he reviewed the affidavit. This changes the balance, but power doesn't surrender quietly. Final move came 3 nights before the hearing. I woke to the sound of glass. The front window shattered inward. Ethan screamed. Pulled him close, heart hammering. As footsteps ran away into the dark. Police came. Statements taken. Damage photographed. No note. No message. Just fear. As they left, Ethan whispered, "Is she going to take me?" I knelt, gripping his shoulders. "No," I said firmly. "No one is taking you." But inside, a cold realization settled. This wasn't about custody anymore. This was about control. And someone who loses control doesn't stop at words. The hearing was in 48 hours, and for the first time since this started, I understood the real stakes. Not just winning, surviving what came next. The night before the hearing, I didn't sleep at all. Ethan finally drifted off around midnight, exhaustion overtaking fear. I stayed awake in the chair beside his bed, watching his chest rise and fall, counting breaths like a ritual. Every shadow in the hallway looked like a threat. Every passing car sounded too slow, too deliberate. I kept replaying the shattered glass in my mind, not because of the damage but because of what it meant. That was the moment I stopped thinking of this as a legal battle and started seeing it for what it truly was. A desperate person losing control. By morning, I was calm in a way that surprised me. Fear burns itself out eventually. What replaces it is clarity. The courthouse was already buzzing when we arrived. Ryan walked beside me, folders under his arm, expression steady. Ethan wasn't there, thank God. The judge had ordered that he be kept out of the building, unless directly requested. She was already seated when we entered, hair perfect, makeup flawless, dressed like someone who wanted to look harmless. She didn't look at me. Not once. The hearing began. Ryan laid out the timeline with surgical precision. The blocked messages, the false abandonment claim, the recorded threats, the CPS retaliation, the broken window one piece at a time. The image changed. Then came Daniel. He looked smaller than I. Remembered, tired, guilty. He swore in and told the truth, all of it. The judge listened without interruption. Her pen stopped moving halfway through his testimony. When Daniel finished, the courtroom was silent. Finally, the judge turned to my wife. Do you deny making these statements? She opened her mouth, closed it. I was under stress, she said finally. I felt cornered. The judge leaned forward. Do you understand that threatening false allegations of child abuse is a felony? Her face drained of color. I didn't mean, and vandalizing the custodial parent's home. The judge continued calmly. Is criminal intimidation. I didn't smile. I didn't move, because this wasn't about winning anymore. It was about ending it when it was my turn. I stood. My voice didn't shake. I loved her, I said simply, even when it hurt. I left because staying meant teaching my son that fear is normal. I looked at the judge. I don't want revenge. I want safety. I want my child to grow up knowing the truth doesn't destroy family. The judge nodded once. Then she spoke. Words I'll never forget. Full legal and physical custody is awarded to the father. My breath caught. Supervised visitation only, contingent on psychological evaluation and compliance. The gavel came down. It was over. She didn't scream this time. She didn't cry as deputies approached. She finally looked at me. That there was no hatred left in her eyes, only emptiness. I felt nothing, and that was how I knew it was truly done. 3 months later, the house felt different. Safer. Ethan laughed more, slept through the night, started talking about the future again, about school projects and soccer, and how he wanted to build a train track that went through every room. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, he asked, Dad, do you think Mom will ever tell the truth? I thought about it, maybe, I said, but whether she does or not, we already are. He nodded, satisfied. The court-mandated letter arrived. A week later, an apology. An apology, careful, required. Didn't frame it. I didn't respond. Some chapters don't need replies. People ask me sometimes how I survived it, how I didn't break. The truth is I almost did, but here's what I learned. You don't win by destroying someone who tried to destroy you. You win by refusing to become them. I lost a marriage, I lost years, but I kept my son, and that was worth everything.